Yes, y'all. Another Tuesday, another episode of The Boys. Welcome. We have with us, well, actually, not with us, but we do have in spirit with us, Sep Rock. Rubber Eyes is the name of the track. Link in the description. What is up? We got one person so far out in the universe, out on YouTube, super fan. What is up? I know that we got the State of the Union going on. And all sorts of stuff happening in the world. But here we are tuned in. Hold on one second. Let me get the camera. Someday there will be a live production person. Till then, you got to deal with my shit and shenanigans. Here we go. What's up? All right. I don't think I need this anymore. Tell me if you can't hear me or if there are problems with the audio. But what is up? Yes. The episode today is called Bernie Will Make a VUVUZELA or something like that. Someone this is actually a good, cool chap that I know from the coffee shop. Pardon me while I take a sip. This cool chap I know from the coffee shop asked me to possibly do a topic of why Bernie's policies won't turn America into Venezuela. Superfan Chris is on. What is up? Oh my God! Maybe did you find a way to simulcast the what's it called? The State of the Union with this show? I don't have it on. I figure at some point I'm gonna get highlights from the State of the Union, and I don't have to sit through it. I mean, I just can't sit through the dude. I already know. He's gonna attempt to read the best that he can through some teleprompters. Something that he didn't write, that he barely reviewed, that he thought he's going to read very smoothly, that he's going to stumble on, that he thinks he's going to ad-lib his way through, and he won't. And the Trump people won't care. Some of them won't even watch it. We're living in a weird time. I'm telling you, we're living in a weird time. But I'll tell you this: we have two people out of the billions of people on this planet. We have two people tuned in to the Boyd live tonight. What's up? What's on your mind? Is Bernie Sanders going to turn us into Venezuela? People are eating zoo animals, so I heard, and the store shelves are not stocked. Very low selection. What is up? I'll be honest with you. I sort of took the day off in general. Today happens to be my birthday. And so if you don't know, now you know. So I just sort of I don't know, skated today. So I didn't even really research, but I'll tell you a little bit. First of all, Venezuela's situation's really a lot different. I mean, there's some weird experimentation that went on with their national economy. They tied it to their oil, which I mean, and then supposedly, depending on if you believe in conspiracy theories or not conspiracy theories, or I mean, what do you believe? I don't know. If you believe that OPEC and the United States could work towards crippling the economy of Venezuela to ensure that their economy will falter by reducing the price of oil in order to sort of collapse the market around them. If that's true, I don't know, subsidized probably by American tax dollars, to ensure that there would not be, there's this theory out there about the fear of a good example, right? I don't know if you guys heard of that theory out there. You can even look it up if you want to. The fear of a good example, and so if it were to succeed that a country like Venezuela or Iran or Syria or Libya or any of these places was able to actually nationalize, just to some degree, like, I mean, Alaska, I think to some degree has, I don't know if you want to call it nationalized, but they've created basically an oil dividend with their natural resources there. For the residents of Alaska. Anyway, if there's a good example of a place where they can nationalize a natural resource as opposed to having it in private hands like BP, Chevron, Exxon, these big oil companies, if it is capable of having nationally, if things start to become nationalized, then these multinational corporations can no longer operate within the bounds of those systems. You see what I mean? So if that's the case, you see what I mean? If that's the case, then it can behoove a country that is manipulated by these corporations to make sure that these countries don't succeed. Now, you could also argue that it would also be at the expense of their own product because they would cause it to be sold for cheap. But it's also a small price to pay for the existential threat altogether that they face if countries around the world started nationalizing what was under the earth within the boundaries of the sovereign nation. If that makes sense. Do you guys follow me? Do you understand? Do you agree or disagree? I don't know. Look it up. Talk to me. I didn't look it up. I mean, some of the stuff it's just based on some stuff I've looked up in the past. It's been a while, so it's sort of a hodgepodge of crap in my brain. But anyway, look, Bernie Sanders is talking about a nationalized health insurance system. Honestly, I don't know the sort of the granular details of his plans. So I don't know if he's actually altogether outlawing for-profit health insurance. If he is, I don't know. I mean, if you really want to have a for-profit health insurance, what's it called? For-profit health insurance company, and use that instead of nationalized health insurance. Remember, it's just the health insurance part. It's not like national VA care. It's like supposed to be like Medicare for all. So that kind of thing. So you still have a private doctor system. There's probably still ways to fleece the system. I mean, that's sort of a problem too. We're still not eradicating. So I mean, even a VA style system might be worth looking into. Some people might say no, because I mean, you also have a problem where there are certain politicians and quote unquote leaders within whatever system that are that it behooves them or their donors for them to ensure system failure so that it can go into the hands of private enterprise. You see what I mean? So, I don't remember. God, I wish I had a better memory. There, you could look it up. There's I know it's going to sound pretty crappy. I just keep looking it up. I get saying look it up, but I guess you can put a bunch of bullet points together and string them together and look them up one day, right? If you really want to. There was, I think, CIA put something together around World War II or right before World War II about sort of like a bureaucratic destruction in a way. It's like how to create internal destruction by doing stuff like frivolous meetings, by making decisions that could easily be done quickly, making them by like what do you call it, a consensus or committee, things like that. Just, I mean, stuff, oddly enough, stuff that you see happen within corporate America a lot of times. There's a reason. I think there's a reason for that too. But there's actually a study and a book on how to execute it. So there were people supposedly out back in during the wars, and I mean, who knows when these clandestine. I mean, the whole thing about clandestine operations is nobody really knows what's going on. So supposedly, the story goes, some of these operatives were, you hear about these spies that go in to try to like fleece information and whatever. There are other operatives that go in to simply find their way into management positions and bog down the process and make it so that it's not really obvious, but like say for instance, you install a patsy who's inside the Messerschmitt design lab and they become some head bureau chief, and they constantly drag their feet on simple decisions that also like start cascading into bigger problems, so that now you can't develop the new jet. You see what I mean? The new fighter bomber or the new such and such, because now a 2-month project turns into a 1-year project. So even if you don't end up fleecing, you don't have to fleece information. You just basically dump an operative in there that sort of knows the basic gist of how to screw up the bureaucracy or create unneeded bureaucracy within a system. So you have that kind of situation operating within the bounds of governance. I don't know if the founding fathers of our government thought ahead to know that there would be such an apparatus put in place to upend a government as to use the bureaucracy of the government against itself. I guess that's where the Constitution comes in, possibly. But it's also where, I mean, I think there's a lot of situation where the Constitution has got out of our hands anyway. I mean, the law or government has gone past the Constitution anyway. And so I think a lot of people in our population are like, well, what am I going to do about it? I mean, if it happens to someone else, what are you supposed to do about it? When it happens to you, who's going to come save you? So you're sort of fucked. You just get you're part of the system now. And you just sort of hope that the law of averages works out and whatever crap statistics work out, that you don't become the one that falls through the little hole. and get sucked into the system. I mean, I don't know. It's like the reverse lottery, I guess, except we're all playing whether you want it or not. I mean, some people say, well, I keep my nose clean, da da da. I don't know if it matters. Sometimes it might not matter. There's some weird circumstances out there to where judges can get kickbacks for sending people to prison, where a cop that broke up with his girlfriend is pissed and pulls you over, and next thing you know, your attitude turns into him turning you into a suspect in some bullshit, or her turning you into a suspect of some bullshit. I don't know. I mean, we live in a world where there's half the population is just going to come to the cops' defense no matter what, and there's another half the population that's going to say fuck the cops. So we live in a weird world. So anyway, of the two people out there, Superfan Chris, if you're still watching, how's the what do you call it, State of the Union going? Are you learning anything? Do you feel better about our nation having watched what you've watched? The other person that's watching tonight, chime in, please. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a sip. Looks like we have one person on Facebook. By the way, Facebook people, if you are jumping on to the live chat, which you can, by the way, the one person on Facebook, note that, you know what, whatever reason why Facebook is real glitchy and weird, I'm going to be switching computers soon. I have not as of yet, but I'm just going to update my Facebook just real quick to see if anybody has said anything. You know what? I'm going to post the YouTube link, and YouTube is a lot less glitchy. So if you want to switch platforms out there, if you are a fan of the show, YouTube is definitely the way to go on that. So let me find the YouTube link. Meanwhile, YouTube folks, Superfan Chris, what's up? Talk to me. Who else is out there? So it looks like someone else is out there sort of hanging out. Welcome if you are a first time. If you're not, what's up? You let your superfan status be known. What is up? What is my YouTube? All right, youtube.com user. All right, here we go. I think this is me. Here we go. All right, Facebook people. So there's some Facebook folks out there. Just letting you know, I'm going to put it in the comments real quick. And by the way, there you go. All right. You can also, if you want to join into the conversation, you can also Skype in, by the way. All right. Pardon me while I take a sip of the drink that I have, which is just seltzer. Seltzer water. And a little bit of vodka, or a lot, or not that much. It's really not that much vodka. All right, yes, that's right. That's right, Link. Here we go. All right, so what is up? Do I think he's going to turn it into VUVUZELA? No, I don't think so. I mean, public option, or at least, I don't know. Like, I got to go back over. I don't think that it should be outlawed. Pour it up. That's right. It is his birthday, by the way. So cheers to yet another year. Well, I need to find out when Superfan Chris's birthday is. But what was I going to say? So how's that State of the Union going? Anyone watching the State of the Union, chime in. Even if you're watching this on the archives, chime in, because I review that. I do get notifications about your comments, so dump some stuff down. By the way, if you're watching on Facebook, thank you and welcome. You may want to thank you, Karen. What is up? Cheers indeed to another year. I've survived. I can't believe it. It's crazy to have survived yet another year on this planet. So, by the way, oh crap, I just spilled my drink on myself. Let's take a moment to be thankful for all that we're thankful for, or at least we should be thankful for. All right, Superfan Chris says usual things I laugh about. Clapping for every remark, hilarious. Oh God, State of the Union. The politics crap, the act, the game, it's destroying our nation. I mean, it's the kind of crap that leads to failures of everything. I don't know anymore. I think the American people are tired of the games. I mean, there's some people, like there was I don't know. I never got into West Wing, but the little bits and pieces I saw of West Wing were sort of, it gave me the impression that there was a culture or group of people that thought the politics, or even House of Cards, like the politics of the game is like something to be known, to be like, yeah, I know about it. It's almost like sports, it's like people that know a lot about a certain team, like they get all like yeah, I know a lot about this team, and like, I know more about it than you, and they feel like the sense of pride, and they like know the, excuse me, pardon me, they know the game, they know the players, they become a master of this sort of realm. And it's like that really doesn't matter compared to like running the country. I mean, it's like leadership, you know what I'm saying? It's like needed. That's what I think people are looking for. They're looking for leadership, not like people who find a way to rise to the ranks of politics. It's like we all know it's a sham. So why do we even give them respect? Like, why do they deserve respect? I don't know. Now, some people, maybe they got degrees and some shit, but like, I don't know. Like, what have they really done with those degrees? And some people may say, James, what have you done? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I haven't done a lot, but let's talk about it. I mean, I'm doing this stupid show. Here we go. Right. And the fact that you're watching it means that you are looking for something too. Like, we're trying to figure some shit out. Like, we know there's something wrong out there, right? And by the way, if you're on Facebook, it is sort of glitchy, by the way. So if you are leaving comments, which it looks like some folks are, oh, let me see. Oh, House of Cards. She said something about House of Cards. Another great year. Oh, House of Cards is a great example, especially for the flavor of the corruption. Oh, of corruption, indeed. Oh, Facebook might crash on me. I hope it doesn't. Oh man, my whole computer looks like it will. The president of Venezuela just got Oh, really? He recognized the president Juan Guaido. I think that was some point of contention, because I don't think he actually technically ever ran for president. And even if you call whatever, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know who to believe, because pardon me. Excuse me. I'm because of my Asian heritage, I believe, when I drink alcoholic beverages. Not saying that this particularly is, but having had consumed previously, my nose is now getting stopped up. And some of you guys might notice the Asian glow. That's just because I'm half Asian. So if you didn't believe it before, believe it now, for you can see the results of being half Asian. Being half Asian. All right, President of Venezuela. How ironic is that? Yes, VUVUZELA. So, yes, I don't believe we're going to have that situation. I think if we look into it, there's also some embargoes, some other sanctions and trade deals, and some other stuff that caused Venezuela to have its own issues. And I don't know. Venezuela's got its own crap. It's its own country with its history, totally different than ours. I mean, to even promote the idea is to like actually completely ignore and deflect material reality. It's like, I don't know. If you ever heard of the butterfly theory, what is the butterfly theory? Or the butterfly effect, excuse me, chaos theory, the butterfly effect. This notion, right, that the one butterfly wing beat can create some current of air that with the right, absolute right circumstances through the theories of chaos and whatever happened, circumstances, the positive interference could possibly cause from one single butterfly wing beat the typhoon or the hurricane across the globe, right? This idea that one small, insignificant, potentially insignificant event could cascade and lead to massive significance, right? So if we consider the entire history of the country of Venezuela and the entire history of the country of the United States and realize any of the differences, the massive differences between those countries, between our countries, and then look at what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish and how can we accomplish that? Now, don't get me wrong. I wonder sometimes if Bernie's plans are right now with the level of corruption that exists within the current government system. Are there ways for the system to be gamed under Bernie's plan? These are the questions. Like, I wish you know what I wish? Like these conservatives that are like so like into free market and crap like that. Like, would you just like turn your brain on for a second and understand that under certain circumstances, like insulin, what is the profit motive to create affordable insulin if you could just keep the price jacked up, especially if you have a patent? And I mean, there's also the argument, I think AOC levied a pretty good argument that there's a lot of subsidy and research money that goes into creation of a lot of pharmaceuticals and other research from taxpayer grants and or taxpayer subsidized loans, et cetera, and other benefits and resources that go on to be patented by these corporations, et cetera. And so it's like, well, maybe there is a government apparatus that can be formed. And these sort of bean counter conservatives can maybe they could audit the government. Let's come up with an auditing system. You know what I mean? Creating a layer of profit in something like the creation of progress of medicine, like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There's no efficiency in creating that layer of profit. I mean, some other things that don't have someone's life tied to it. Someone's, like, I don't know, maybe even to some degree quality of life, depending on that. I mean, we can even talk about that. But we can have that open for public debate if we have that sort of as a collective endeavor. It doesn't make sense to pay for the bureaucracies of individual risk pools of insurance companies. It doesn't make sense to pay for the bureaucracy and benefits and all that stuff of each individual insurance company, plus the shareholder dividends, plus all of the overhead of that. It could be all done by some entity. If we can do that kind of thing for the military, you know, we could do that kind of thing for our for to some degree for our at least insurance. I mean, we could also probably do it for the greater. I mean, why couldn't we look at national health like national defense? You know, why not? But I mean, there's a group of people out there that would simultaneously worship the military while simultaneously sort of like downplaying and poo-pooing the military as a government behemoth bogged by bureaucracy and blah blah blah. So it's like this sort of this neurotic duality that there's certain groups of people out there that have like this simultaneous hate and love for this government, right? Like the military is government, so I hate it that it's government and it's bureaucratic and it's stupid. But I love it that it's military and it's American, it's eagles and it's missiles and guns and killing. I don't know. I mean, is there more to it than that? I mean, maybe there's more to it than that. I know I'm being sort of sarcastic about it, but I mean, I'm into it too. I like military planes. I think they're cool. I like the aesthetic. I like the utilitarian aspect of these things. The design elements, the engineering. I'm a big proponent of military stuff, of defense, not of offense per se, right? Everybody should be able to defend themselves against aggression. But when you're the aggressor and it behooves you via profit to be the aggressor, that's something I don't really understand, because I'm just not that. I'm not an aggressor. I'm not this person that's going to steal your lunch money. I just don't do that. And then some people might say, well, you're a beta. I'm like, well, okay, then I'm a beta. And if you try to fucking steal my lunch money, you're going to get shot. You know, it's like, you can call me what you want to call me. But I'm saying, like, defense, yeah, sure. But like, if you're invading sovereign nations, that's a problem. That's not defense. You know what I mean? Things like that. I mean, and then like playing proxy war and crap like that. I mean, it's just, there's different ways to play these games. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe there's some other crazy stuff going on that, you know, I'm not privy to. James, you're just like so childlike. You don't know. Blah blah. The military masterminds know all of this stuff that you don't know. So be it. Maybe that's true. That's 100% could be true. I don't know. Then let me know. Feed me the information. Let me know. So then I can talk some real shit. Like right now, all I know is what I know. And what I know is that there's a bunch of bullshit floating around. So, I mean, it just like think about this. All I know is if you follow the money, you probably know what's really going on. Because right now, money runs shit. That's just what runs things. You know what I mean? It's just some money. It's just some money. You know, and I'm saying like people get all, you know, like the whole Trump crowd and whatever. Look, I don't got Trump derangement syndrome. The dude is just crazy, man. The dude is like, I mean, oh my God, he's a national embarrassment. I don't know. Like, the Trump people have created an environment where if you criticize the cult leader, you have Trump derangement syndrome. It's crazy. Like, I could criticize Obama and they'll be like, oh, well, at least you criticize Obama. But if I criticize Trump, it's like, oh, he's got Trump derangement syndrome, that Democrat communist. It's a crazy situation. And so, like, basically, we have to realize as a nation, I don't know, can we create a working class, like, solidarity versus, I mean, of course, we're going to have to be versus the like, I mean, God, I don't want to sound like, it's going to sound like old hippie language. It's going to sound like old, like if you look at working class history, it's the same rhetoric, the same language, but basically it's the language of class struggle. Is there going to be class solidarity against the people who would exploit you? You don't have another choice. Like, how many people, instead of the job that they have, would rather, if they could put their name in a hat to win a lot, sort of like a lottery, where you have maybe a 75% chance of winning, you would get some plot of land, maybe 2 acres of land, solar panels, some chunk, like sort of like a grant, basically, which would include something like a house, solar panels, some type of composting sewer system that works within the 2 acres of land, maybe a hydroponics or aquaponics system, something where you could actually live off of this 2 acres of land. If you were given that choice versus whatever job you have or the prospects of jobs that are in your area, what would you choose? And even if you wouldn't choose to go take your chances with the aquaponics system, and by the way, let me take a sip. You would get, there would be something like this same, like whatever this grant is, we'll call it the Commons grant. There would also be the Commons Grant colleges. So the Commons Grant colleges would teach you how to run your aquaponics system to max effect. It would teach you how to run your solar panel system to max effect. It would teach you how to run your 2 acres of land to max effect. So maybe you wanted to raise animals on your 2 acres. Well, it would teach you animal husbandry, whatever flavor of animal you wanted to raise, that type of animal husbandry. Or if you wanted to grow crops, or if you wanted to raise timber, or I don't know, what do you want to do with your 2 acres? Excuse me, there would be a college or a class or some kind of curriculum on that. That we've done this kind of thing in our nation's history. My point being, how many people do you either know, or you yourself, would you go and take your chances doing that, or do whatever job you're doing, or the prospect of, like maybe you want another job because the job you're doing is not making enough money, so you want to do something that gets you more money, right? But the job prospects of getting more money suck worse than possibly living off the land, running an aquaponics system with solar panels and crap like that. I mean, you'd probably still have internet and some other stuff. Maybe you'd still have to find a way to enterprise yourself into affording stuff like the internet, but you have solar panels, so at least you have some power, and it's probably some like hot water and crap like that. At least come up with some kind of municipal or federally funded grant for water and shit like that. I don't know. Let's say you had that. If that was the case, how many people do you know that would actually leave the workforce and like fucking and do some shit like that? You can go fishing. Maybe there's a chunk of land available for hunting. Hell, maybe people out there would go and run an aquaponics system for you, and they would take just a piece, like 10% of the yield, or you would pay them. I mean, you would still have free enterprise. You know what I'm saying? But like, it would be away from the current system. If that was the case, then it would just be a different world, right? If we had a system like that, then wages would be different. Benefits would be different. I don't think stuff like health insurance should be tied to like your employment. Like, that's just weird. To me, I think that having something like a public option or a governmental option. I mean, I think national health and national defense almost go hand in hand, and I think things like welfare systems right now, the idea of welfare, it's something to make up for the shortcomings for capitalism. Basically, at the end of the day, capitalism doesn't have a cure for poverty or homelessness. It depends on those things. It depends on making sure you're afraid of being that, to make sure that you're going to work some menial job that makes someone else some money. I mean, at the end of the day, that's sort of, if you think about it, that's what your job is. It doesn't matter if you're making $500,000 a year. That's that's what you're doing. You're handling the business of someone else that doesn't want it, that's making more money off of having you handle their business. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know. It's just you just at the end of the day, it's just there's something broken about the system. We have this one-way check valve where we sort of honor capital and money, but we don't really honor time. We say we do by paying somebody for their time, but we don't provide any alternative to that. You see what I mean? Everyone's scrambling to find a way to get someone to pay for their time. And that's not necessarily, is that necessary? I mean, is that necessarily natural? And if it's not natural, is that necessarily the right way to approach things? Should we not look at, if time equals money, should your time not equal money? Should the time that you spend working at an endeavor, creating the pathway for someone else to make money off of your labor, should that not end up in some way allowing you to at least have some ownership in that thing that you helped build over time? You know what I mean? So as I build things over time and I loop other people into it and they become an integral part of me building this thing, I want to create a vector by which they now can have some ownership with me, that I partnered with them now. You know, like if you work with somebody for 5 years, how many years of working with somebody do you know, like, yeah, I can work with this person and it's working out? No, like that's an honest question. I mean, I don't even know. Like a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? I mean, I don't know. What are your opinions? Nobody's on Facebook. 3 people, pardon me, out of all the universe, 3 people tuned in right now. We got Superfan Chris. What is up? Excuse me. Pardon me. Trying to breathe my drink in. So far, you are the only one who has contributed to the live chat. We got 4 people in all of the universe tuned in right now. Pardon me. The Asian glow is kicking in. Been drinking this vodka drink, and now my nose is stopped up. It's just something that happens when I've been drinking a little bit. It's a secret birthday episode for those of you guys don't know. That didn't know, it is the birthday today, so I have been getting a slightly lit, but not even that much, but just a little bit. Some of you guys can tell. Aaron is asking, do I need another drink? Probably not yet. I mean, what we got? I mean, we're getting close to 10 o'clock. We're like at 45 minutes in on the show. What is up? Superfan Chris, what's going on out in the world? I know you're watching the State of the Union. I don't know if it's still going. Dang, I poured a lot of vodka in that drink. Yeah, I don't need another drink. just yet. All right. So 4 people in the world tuned in right now on the Boyd. What is on your mind? Anyway, I lost my train of thought. Maddie Newham, what is up? I'm 17. I support Bernie. Bernie, he is our hope. That's why the boomers and Rich hate him. Amen, Maddie. I mean, you know, I wonder, like, boomer, when you say boomer, first of all, Matt, welcome. Maddie, welcome to the show. I'm glad you tuned in. You give me hope, 17-year-old into Bernie Sanders. I think Bernie Sanders, I mean, it sort of makes me sad that there's nobody out there that's like Gen X or something that's like running like in lieu of Bernie. Nothing against Bernie. I like Bernie, but like he's sort of old guy. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to vote for him because he's old, blah, blah. I'm okay with, I'm a big Bernie fan. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, you know, I wish there was more people out there. So maybe this show will spark a movement. But you give me hope, Maddie. Yeah, let me ask you this. If you're still tuned in, Maddie, why do you think Bernie is our hope? Why do you believe that? Because a lot of people, like I tell them I'm a Bernie fan and they think I'm crazy. And I think a lot of it's because of the mainstream media, including Fox, by the way, which is pretty mainstream if you think about it, because there's a big chunk of our electorate, a big chunk of our population that is watching stuff like Fox News. Man, we're in for something crazy. Something crazy is about to happen. And I apologize. I've been like, my nose is all stopped up. No, I think something crazy is going to happen. I think maybe there will become I think Bernie is opening the door to a almost more fervent and sort of, what is it? Not oblique. What's the word I'm looking for? Like sort of overt and open socialist sort of movement, I think. And I think you're going to see a strong opposition to that, especially from capitalist ventures or people with a lot of money, the Jeff Bezoses of the world, the Bill Gates, the corporations. We saw some kind of movement like this happen during the hippies, during the Powell Papers. You know, basically this threat that this idea, stuff like that I'm talking about, like even further left than Bernie. Like Bernie's not even talking about really causing strong effect to labor and capital relations. Like when I talk about guaranteeing workers a pathway to equity or ownership into the businesses that they ultimately helped build. You know, he's not really talking about that kind of stuff. And I think, you know, hey, steps at a time. There's levels to this shit, as the philosopher Meek Mill has taught us. There's levels to this, and Bernie is the first level. So we first have to reach the level of Bernie, and then we can get Super Saiyan level at some point after that. So Goku can fight. Like Bernie is the Goku level. We can't get past that yet. We have to fight at least past Goku level, and we haven't really even had somebody fight at Goku level yet. Fighting for some type of universal pooled together, like, hey, let's watch out for our brothers and sisters. What's our best way to do that? Well, probably by pooling our resources together and figuring out a way to make that work. Now, within this current system of profit-driven enterprise, right now, a pooled system like Bernie is proposing, we're looking at Medicare for all. We're looking at a risk pool, which is the entire nation, basically, instead of separate risk pools versus like Blue Cross Blue Shield being one risk pool, Humana being another risk pool, or Who else is out there? I don't know. You name them. I don't know who is part of who anymore. I don't care. But each one becomes their own risk pool. So now everything adjusts according to who's in the risk pool. The larger, I mean, look, I don't want to get into the intricacies of insurance risk pooling and how that works as far as creating a profit margin, etc. At the end of the day, if we did that on the national scale and everybody was part of the risk pool and everyone was contributing, at the end of the day, we could cut down bureaucratic cost. We could cut down, in general, we would cut down the risk pool itself by including everybody. And in a way, Obamacare supposedly was doing that, but it didn't, because it basically it connected the suckling pig of the for-profit insurance companies. It basically took the for-profit insurance companies and took this growing, hungry, suckling pig and shoved it onto the teat of the taxpayer, is basically what happened. That is Obamacare. And by having a national mandate, it basically made everybody chip into the big suckling teat, or at least the suckling pig, which was a whole bunch of different suckling pigs, but they all suckled onto the government program. And that's the problem too, is that whenever you hook up a for-profit system onto a governmental program, it's going to suck out as much as it can for profit. I mean, if you're running a for-profit industry, let's talk about it honestly. The 4 people up to 6 people. We actually had 6 people for a brief moment on YouTube. Goddamn, my eye is itching for some reason. Anyway, if you are running a for-profit institution, how much profit do you want? If you could have it all, if you can name your price, what profit margin would you have? Therein lies a problem, because there's a point where, like, when you have the potentially unlimited teat of the government, what profit margin do you want? What's too much? What's too little? I mean, what are you leaving on the table? I mean, how much money is too much money? I mean, the Fed's listening. What money? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, you have to really think about this in the terms of objective reality. And the problem is, objective reality is a freaking onion. And there's so many layers to the onion that it becomes, you start sounding like a crazy person. And that's the thing, is like the human brain doesn't want to think about complex shit. It wants to make things simple and easy and like Lego blocks and like poop, poop, poop. And it's like, it's not exactly a car, but it looks pretty good. And it's like, yeah, it's made out of Legos. So it's like, of course, it's not going to be exactly a car or airplane or a helicopter or some shit. But it's like close enough because it's made of blocks. And that's the kind of world we're living in, is we don't want to understand shit for as complex as it is. And there's people out there whose job, whose life purpose in the world right now, whose life, like I said, life purpose, the reason why they're on this earth is to make shit complex for you. Like, that is a thing. So, yes, welcome to fucking paradise, I guess. All right, so we have 5 people joining us tonight. Welcome. Some of you guys, welcome. Some of you guys, super fans. Tell me what you think. Skype in if you want. I don't think I've missed any Skype people. There's a Skype link if you want to, like, talk about whatever is on your mind. Otherwise, you have live chat. Dump it in. What's up, Matty Matt? 17 gives me hope. The boomers and the rich hate him. Why do you think the boomers and the rich hate him? I mean, boomers. I mean, I think I was going to talk about this before too. Do we mean boomers in the actual sense of the word boomer, as in the boomer generation, or I've also heard of boomer used in sort of like a rhetorical sense, like you could be a 17-year-old Ben Shapiro fan and be totally boomer, like that kind of thing. Like peak boomer would be a 22-year-old person. I mean, in some degrees of definition of boomer, a 22-year-old person. Did I say 22 before? Whatever. I'll just say 22. 22-year-old person who what? Gen Z, Gen some shit. I don't even think they're young enough. I think they're too young to even be millennial at 22, because millennials are actually sort of, I mean, like, I think the oldest millennials are in their 30s, like in like 30, like deep 30s. So it's like millennials are like having families and shit. So whoever's 22 is like Gen Z or later than millennial. But like a 22-year-old who grew up on food stamps that like hates government programs and like wants to shut down government programs and loves Trump, and I mean, maybe they don't have to love Trump. Probably do. That seems to be like a boomer thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. All right, 5 people on YouTube. What do you think? Throw it on the live chat. This is a fellowship of truth. This isn't supposed to be me just blabbing some shit. You know what I mean? I'm like, not like Rush Limbaugh. So, what do you think? I think we're in a pickle as a country, though. But I think if we can all rally behind Bernie, I think that we are on the pathway to something better. I think a Bernie Sanders administration will call into question the people like Pelosi, Schumer, the old guard. Some people out there hate the AOCs, the new sort of young Democrat people that are coming in. Some of them, I mean, there are probably some of them that run in Democrat because there's like politically, there's not much else you could do, because third parties like suicide watch kind of thing. It's like, because people are afraid to do. I mean, right now with the way that the Democratic caucus ran, it might be time to do third party, because I mean the Democrat caucus, I mean for Iowa, it's like just, I mean, oh God, you can't even run your own party caucus. Like how can the results of that be somebody that could lead our country, right? I think that becomes a valid question. And that's why, like, I'm not into party politics. I don't have adherence to Democratic Party line, Republican Party line. This kind of shit is what's destroying the nation. I mean, we need to look at issues that are facing Americans. If people are dying because they can't get health care coverage, we have taxpayer money that has gone into cures for diseases, but yet people can't afford within our country that paid taxes to help create or subsidize the cures. They can't afford to participate in the cure. That to me is a problem. So we should talk about that. Like this idea that the minimum wage can't keep up with inflation for rental and or other costs that are going on. That's a problem to me. And these are contradictions. These are issues that have been addressed like at least 100 years ago, over 100 years ago. It's just, we've been dealt sort of like we've been fed a matrix, like a curated reality, and it's resentful, and it's like you could like be pissed off and like kick your feet and throw a tantrum, or face the fact that there are there are forces out there, there are people out there, and I call it sort of the Ouija board effect, where like I don't care whoever you think is manipulating shit is probably doing it. Sure, whatever. You think it's George Soros or you think it's Koch brothers. You think it's pharmaceuticals, you think it's a petroleum, you think it's military, industrial complex, prison complex. They probably all have their finger on whatever you call, what do you call it, the shuttle or the pointer or whatever shit on the Ouija board it is. And they're all saying that they're not moving it. They're all saying like, "Oh, I'm not the one doing this shit." And it's like at the end of the day, somebody's fucking around. Somebody is throwing the money, somebody is buying the politicians, somebody is doing this stuff. And there's a point where American people are like, you know, this is not the way it's supposed to be. And you know, I think a lot of that, I think my biggest, if I was going to run on something, it would have to be labor and capital relations. The fact that if you involve people, you should consider them partners. Like, for instance, if you hire somebody to work for you for an extended period of time, then they sort of, in a way, become partner in your business. There should be this understanding that if they work for you, earning a wage for you instead of earning a wage for someone else, that they should have some level of participation in the growth of that thing that they helped build. Because without them, then you wouldn't be as far along as you are. So they should have some ownership in that. If someone came along and gave you a bunch of money to help you start the business or otherwise run the business, it would make total sense to give them a chunk of the ownership of that. But yet, if someone gives you a chunk of their life that they can't get back for some reason that like doesn't click, that you should give them part ownership in that. Time equals money, and everyone seems to agree with that. But if you give your time, it doesn't equate to the same as if you gave money. So it's not really equal. So we should make it equal, is my argument. Is this like, yeah, we should make it equal. If someone works for you 10 years, they should have some level of ownership in whatever shit they were working towards for 10 years. They help you build it and you made money off of them. They should have some level of ownership by the end of that time. In fact, that's why I was saying, like, at what point do you know you could work with somebody? Is it a year? Is it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? When do you know that's like, yeah, I can work with them and make money with them and build the business with them? They're great. They're a great addition to this team. How long does that take? And if, like, at that point, you should probably be able to be like, yeah, this person is a partner with me in this business. If that were to happen, that would change the dynamic of our society altogether. It would change politics. It would change the relationship with people to money. It would change the relationship with people to their families, to time, to social groups, to their interests, to their endeavors, to whether or not they want to start a business. I mean, there's so many ramifications to this idea that you can't buy somebody and you also can't rent somebody. Like, to be in a situation where there's a cultural awareness to where we've already brought up upon at some point our forefathers, or whoever you want to give credit to, brought upon the cultural awareness that it is not okay to outright own a human being. We should also include that there's also no right for somebody to rent a human being. Or at least if you're going to rent a human being, there should be an alternative to the rental. So let's reinstitute the commons. Let's work out I don't know, like a social contract. Like, okay, like if you win the lottery to the commons, then you also, I don't know, maybe you sign a pledge to be part of a standing defense force, militia. You are part of the well-regulated militia. And if you, as long as, I mean, you could be, as long as you want to be signed up, I don't care if you're in a wheelchair. If you want to be signed up to the well-regulated militia and live in the commons and just live off the land and be available for training and be there at a moment's notice. And also, I have a feeling there's a way to incorporate people from the commons into the Army Corps of Engineers. I just have this feeling there's a way to make it happen. And then also maybe create it some kind of national agricultural division where people can figure out a way to use their land to pool it, to collectively help create a national food pool or something. There are ways. I mean, we have reached a level of technology and production, and I mean, so many things. Sorry, I'm closing my eyes. I'm just like, my eyes are so like swollen right now. Probably from drinking that vodka. Anyway, what was I saying? And I'm deep in thought because I mean, there's a lot going on. Like, I mean, we're talking about this whole onion, but the onion has layers. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's hard to parse it all out. But anyway, I don't know. I think Bernie's the first step towards that. I think that once you have a Bernie Sanders administration, you start to have the sort of framework to create the foundation for the next step, whatever that is. And I don't know. But I think there's going to be someone out. Once Bernie has the bully pulpit and is able to convey a message on a broad scale to a national audience, I think that that will be the nebulous, or that will be the sort of instigator to create the sort of like the framework for the grand unifier, if you will, to come out of the woodwork and sort of bring everybody together to realize that there's a broader common goal and a cultural shift. Just like, I mean, Frederick Douglass said it best, and I'm going to butcher the quote, but he basically said in his experience that there is a slavery of wages, just a little less galling than that of chattel slavery, that must go down with the other. And I have to agree with him. I mean, like I said, like I've said many times, there's no alternative to exploitation. There are a few people who are enterprising enough to be able to create their own enterprise and do their own thing and take some resources and build on that and keep building. And those people should be, they should be able to reap the rewards of their work. Absolutely. Some people just, they're worker bees. There's some people that are worker bees. You think about it, they're like, like people idolize them, and also look at, it's like a love-hate thing. It's like there's a certain group of people that have all these love-hate contradictions. It's like the people that hate the government, they love the military. They hate the government, they love the police. They hate the worker bee and love the entrepreneur, but they hate the rich business owner, but they love the factory worker. It's like, what the hell kind of weird, neurotic, weird, contradictory shit is this? And it's sort of like, I don't know. I think we should honor the worker. There's some folks that they love their work. They get good at their work. They love it. They take pride in their work. There is nothing wrong with that. Like a factory worker, GM, cranking out cars. They know about what they do. And it's like, yeah, I did this. And like when I see this Camaro, or I see this Hyundai, or I see this shit, whatever shit, and like, wow, I designed that grommet, or I designed the freaking, I don't know, I assembled the suspension on one of these cars. I don't freaking know. I don't know. People take pride in the shit that they do, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you're whatever the most boring ass shit you can possibly think of. Someone is like, yeah, I'm the best at this boring ass shit. What the fuck? What do you got to say? And that's just the nature of humans. I mean, I think that's something we forget. Like, people think that everybody's driven by money. We know teachers aren't driven by money. We know military members aren't driven by money. We know, like, ask a firefighter family if they're driven by money. They're struggling. They're not driven by money. There are people that are driven by an intrinsic value inside. There are people that will work, like medical professionals that are like searching for the cure for cancer because their loved one died from cancer. There are people who are driven by intrinsic motive that isn't profit. And we forget that that's reality. And if we simply change the culture and say it's not okay to rent people, just like it's not okay to own people, that the time you spend working towards the enterprise that you help build, it's like if somebody wants to start a business and they do all the work themselves without hiring somebody, have at it, Hoss. Bring in all the money, take it all in. Who cares? But as soon as you bring someone else in, that means that you sort of admit you need someone else to run this thing. You don't have the will, skill, or time to run it. You want someone else to do it. Okay, great. And maybe you do extract some profit off them. Okay, whatever. Great. Incentivize. Yes, you created this thing, but give them a vector by which over time, some period of time, they've worked with you 5 years, 1 year, 2 years. I don't know. You come up with it. Pull it out of your butt. I don't know. But you create the vector by which they have some ownership stake. And the bigger this enterprise becomes, the more democratic control your workers have. If you have 30,000 employees, how much can you really say that you contribute as the owner? Honestly, how much can you really say? You have 30,000 employees. The enterprise is running with 30,000 employees. Why does it have 30,000 employees? That means you couldn't have done it yourself. So that means your stupid decision can affect 30,000 employees. If you decide to do something stupid and it runs your company into the ground, you affect 30,000 people. They should have democratic control over this process. That's just all I'm saying. If we did that, democratic control, which includes democratic control over the proportion of profit to some degree that the workers can attain. And it can work through the accounting, it can work through some things. It's just like shareholders can't vote for a dividend. Perhaps also workers won't vote for their bonuses. Those kinds of things. I mean, let's talk about it. Let's change this idea of the culture. It's a cultural change. Once we change the culture, now we can start having a dialogue about, like, how do we work out the details of this new relationship, that it's not okay to rent people, that it's not okay to buy them either, that it's not, those things aren't okay, that people are partners, not commodities. Just like someone gives you money and they can have part of your business, someone gives you time of their life, that they should have part of that business at the end of that period of time, or some period of time they should accrue ownership in that enterprise. That's all. But here's the thing, that one cultural change they're so scared of, the people who are in charge now, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates, those kind of people, the people who buy the Koch brothers, even the George Soros. I mean, even the left-wing people. I don't even know who these people are. Whatever. Anybody who is benefiting off the current system is not going to like this other thing, because You can't simply exploit at the lowest common denominator, at the lowest possible price. Remember, lowest possible price is only achieved by having a captive labor force that has no choice. You can't simply go live off the land, because whose land? You have to buy it. It's either government land or it's private land. You can't just live off of it. So this idea that there's a alternative to being exploited by someone else is just a sham, because there is no alternative to exploitation. And even if there was an enterprising way for you to do something, if you don't have resources for you to do something to create your own enterprise, remember, there is also efficient markets theory. So if there's a low barrier of entry, that means also there's a low barrier of entry. So that means other people will jump in with you. So that will also diminish the capacity for you to gain profit. Any arbitrage that exists will be diminished, because if you believe in the efficiency of supply and demand and a open and free market. Anyway, what I'm saying is, without the alternative to being exploited by somebody else, the wages by which people agree to work are automatically deflated, because they have no choice but to enter into work. It's either you or somebody else. I think it was Friedrich Engels talked about the idea that we've gone from chattel slavery, in which you are owned by a singular master, to wage slavery, in which you are not owned by a singular master. You are simply owned by the owner class of masters. So it's either you work for Walmart, or you work for Subway, or you work for some other person who will hire you with no resources and no particular skilled ability, and you have to find somebody, and everybody has to find somebody, and they will price it accordingly. Remember, your wage will always be inversely proportionate to your desperation. What does that mean? The more desperate you are, the lower you will get paid. The less desperate you are, the more you will get paid. So inverse proportionate. So something to think about. So you add that all together, all the layers of the onion. And remember, even if one layer of the onion is rotten, I mean, if you bit into, imagine biting into an onion, but if you sliced into an onion and one layer was moldy and infected and gross and slimy and nasty, would you simply cut it and throw it into your spaghetti sauce? Right? That is a question we have to ask ourselves. Would we do it? If we wouldn't, we have to look at the whole onion. We have to look at all the layers. And if there's a rotten layer, we have to flesh it out, and we have to eliminate it from the pot, right? We can't stir it into our spaghetti sauce. Anyway, so yeah, Bernie Sanders is not going to create Venezuela. And I don't know. Maddie, welcome to the show. If you're still on, I don't know if you're still on. Looks like we have 2 people on YouTube and nobody on Facebook. So Facebook, you're out of here. Now, remember, like, subscribe, all of those things. We have a Patreon link for the boy in the description. So do that whole thing. And I will see you in the next episode next Tuesday. Maybe we'll do a Sunday sesh. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if we can get some more subscribers. I'll start doing more Sunday sessions. If we can get to 100 subscribers, I'll start doing some of the Sunday sessions on a more regular basis. So tell your friends, send out some notifications, etc., or share it, and all that stuff. And until then, peace out.